¿Cómo estamos, mi gente? Welcome to another edition of Lucha con Macho, but today is different. It's Lucha con Macho y Richie Mars because we are coming together once again, but this time to talk about WrestleMania. Obviously, with WrestleMania 42 being in Las Vegas, and so far, it is turning out to be what Cody Rhodes said, a sneaky hot card. I know that's weird for you guys to hear me praise or say anything nice about Cody Rhodes, but we'll be civil this evening. And Richie, how you doing? How you been?
Doing well, man. Road to WrestleMania had a lot of highs, a lot of lows, a lot of lows, according to a lot of fans. So can't wait to get to nitty gritty to see if it's as bad or as good as people have been saying it was.
Yeah, I mean, I'll be honest with you. When I first started paying attention to what they were doing at WrestleMania, I really thought this was going to be a punt. I thought they were just like, let's just get to Saudi, let's move over to the new venue, new show. That's why they kind of just repeated it. But then I really think something happened. Maybe TKO got involved sooner than we thought,
Mm-hmm.
and they decided that this was an unacceptable show that they were putting together. And it's honestly like there's a lot for me. There's a lot of highs. I know that on the other platform, I do a lot of work messing with some people and stuff, but on here I'll be just completely honest. And yeah, man, I have a lot of great things to say about this card. I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to almost every single match.
Mm-hmm.
Some disappointments that I have are really just people that won't be on the card.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's a lot of glaring omissions as a press
Mm.
recording, like Io Sky being one, Carmelo Hayes being another one, Julia being one, Tiffany Stratton being one. That one surprised me a lot. Because now it's like you had the two women who walked into last year's WrestleMania as champions now not on the card as of now.
Yeah, that's such a strange thing, especially because Io gets her monumental win. She ends a WrestleMania like streak because Bianca Belair hadn't lost.
Yeah.
And then not only did she lose, but she took the pin, which was like not expected. There are still people throughout the year dating back to last year that are angry that she was the one who took the pin. And I kind of agree with that because I kind of like the idea that Bianca was undefeated. But I know that when I look at it, I don't understand how she's on it. I know there's that rumor out there that she posted challenging Asuka to a wrestling match at WrestleMania. Meltzer covered that today. I saw that right before we jumped on here, in which you could tell that like that compared with how she took the clean loss to Jade, it was kind of like she's not on the card this year.
Mm-hmm.
And Tiffany, I don't know, like, was she injured all year? Because for me, that one makes a little bit more sense based on the fact that she hasn't had enough time on TV to build anything.
Well, she had that long run with her championship, which people are pretty mixed on. And, it's tough. It's your first world title run, and you're a babyface, a role that you've never been before in your career.
Yeah.
So you're already like behind, like, the start line, so to speak, when it comes to that. And with Tiffany, she returned at the Rumble, and there were no obvious kind of feuds for her because she was already in the title feud. She feuded with Jade pretty consistently throughout the last part of last year. So at that point, it's like you can't really throw her into anything right now. You have to kind of build that up. And with the injuries, like with Chelsea Green and with Jordan Grace, like you had a potential to have like a really strong like U.S. championship match. And now it just kind of seems like that's going to be possibly the SmackDown before Mania.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think we're moving to getting anything like that for Mania. But since we're talking about Mania season, why don't we talk about the Raw Go Home show, man? Mm-hmm. What a banger of a show last night. I mean, I know there wasn't a lot of wrestling matches, but I'm definitely going to highlight the women's match because my Lord, Charlotte and Lyra, like, I don't know how you feel about it. I need to see more. I need to see a full program of just these two women because that, like, I don't know, man. That gave me that felt like a WrestleMania match as it was happening.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, with Lyra, whenever she's given a moment to shine, like she takes the opportunity full fledged. That SummerSlam match with Becky notwithstanding, it really feels like Lyra has kind of come into her own as a comfortable, consistent force on the main roster, similar to how Carmelo Hayes is. Whenever he's in the ring, it's always going to deliver. And with Charlotte's having a very sneaky good year.
Yeah.
And I'm counting last year too, because Charlotte does get a bad rap.
Yeah.
And I think it's, it's the Randy Orton Triple H effect where it's like, oh, okay, they're always going to be in the title picture no matter what. They're not going to like kind of branch out a little bit. And,
Yeah.
storyline and character consistency is definitely something to keep aware of within WWE. And this partnership with Alexa has put Charlotte in a really good light. And I think it's been beneficial towards both because you're at a point where, yeah, you could put them in the world title feud, but they're most likely not going to hold on to it or really be the focal point for that long amount of time. So you might as well just put them together and try to make other stars that way. And we saw that with Lyra on Monday, Kiana as well on SmackDown, and just like the different Judgment Day girls as well.
Yeah, I agree. I love the idea that we didn't really get a brawl between these women last night. We kind of just got a little bit of a shoving match. It kind of lets it breathe a little bit. Obviously, the Bellas might not be in the match. It's not confirmed yet, but clearly we know that Nikki's injured. So I don't know how we get there, but I thought it was strange the fact that we had this one-on-one encounter that we didn't have the actual tag champs there that are the reason everybody's competing in this match is to take these championships.
Yeah, I feel like they're setting up for a program after Mania because they're one apiece with each other, and we'll get into predictions on who I think is going to win the women's tag match. But I definitely it felt like we're building up more to something that's happening after Mania than just going towards Mania.
Agreed. What would you say was the highlight of Monday Night Raw?
I had two. One is Oba's promo with
Absolutely.
Heyman. That was great. I think that was a breakout performance for him because we've seen him, physically get involved, but we haven't heard him on the microphone for a long period, an extended part of time. And for him to not only deliver a promo, but against Paul Heyman and with Triple H in the ring as well, and not being rattled seemingly, and then kind of just delivering it. That's like that's who you want to like put all your chips on, as a top guy. And I think he definitely delivered that way. And of course, the closing segment I really enjoyed with Roman and Punk because it was very different, but it's still like tied into their first promo battle after the Rumble, where it was like hate was the central theme. But now we're here at the end. It's still hate, but it's more vulnerable of why they hate. It's not the machismo of just like, I hate you because of this. I hate you because of this. But now it's like they're complimenting each other, but they still have that hate. And that's where their hate is formulaic in like their problems with each other, which I really enjoy.
Yeah, I agree. I think Obafemi's promo, I love that you pointed out the fact that Triple H is in there because he is one of the best mic workers that we've ever gotten. Whether he said controversial things, as you know, Eric Bischoff preaches this, controversy creates cash, or just in general going out there and just cutting a promo as a babyface or a heel. He was good at both sides. People didn't prefer him as a babyface, but he was a good babyface. He really was. And I feel like Paul Heyman probably, I don't know, Mount Rushmore in terms of like how people view like, managers, mic workers. He calls himself the GOAT. I mean, I don't know if I disagree, but I love the fact that Obafemi didn't look rattled. He didn't look like the moment was too big. It almost looked like he was like kicking the door open, telling everybody like, I've been here this entire time. And this is the perfect showcase for me. Like on Sunday, you're going to see me perform, but tonight you're going to hear me. And combined with these two, I'm coming out of WrestleMania weekend the biggest star. And I was very excited with what I heard. And honestly, it did give me chills. I was a little like, my eyes got a little like flushed. I was like, this is one of those moments. This is like Roddy Piper standing across from Chris Jericho, cutting that like impromptu promo we didn't know was going to happen. And you can tell that Jericho forgot he was in character and he became a fan like the rest of us. That's what it felt like last night. It was like, oh my God, this is why I'm such a fan of this product.
And you could see on the face of Oba and Paul, like you could see like legit emotion on their face because they realize how special this moment is. I mean, when Oba dropped Brock, you could see tears streaming down just because of the intensity and just like the fans are with him right away. And I think it's a testament to Shawn Michaels and how he's developing talent in NXT
Oof.
because this is kind of like his first like premier class. I feel like that's been called up at the same time. We had Braun, we had Carmelo, and that's kind of part of the NXT 2.0 class as well, along with Tiffany. But this is the first time where it's like you haven't seen any distinct changes from Oba, from Trick, from Javon, from Lash. Like everybody is consistent from when they were in NXT. And now we're going to get more call-ups potentially after WrestleMania. And if they're anything like what we're seeing with Oba, Trick, and Javon and Lash, then we're going to be okay for the future.
Yeah, it's so funny you say that. I just had this thought as you were talking, and I'm going to pose this question to you quick. Do you think that Shawn Michaels was the missing piece for NXT in terms of bringing the actual character that they're working on to the main roster? Because before HBK got there, it felt like there was a shift in the character. I mean, I've said this on like numerous times that Tiffany Stratton on the main roster is not the Tiffany we had in NXT. They're not even close to they don't even work the same. They're completely different workers, but you just pointed this out. Like Trick works just like NXT Trick. He's the same character. Same thing with Oba. He's the same person. Lash, that's who she is. I mean, you watch this happen, Javon. I mean, 6'7", the whole thing. Like that's who he is. And it's like, wow, was Shawn the missing piece to be like, okay, you're gonna go down there, you're gonna work with these people, but like we need the character that you develop. We need that character to get over on the main roster.
I mean, it's a perfect segue that Shawn Michaels' documentary released on Peacock on Monday. And he even said he took over NXT a lot sooner than it was expected of him because of Triple H's heart condition. And, it was some trial and error because he took over for Triple H, I believe, in 2022, if I have my timeline correct. So it's like, obviously, he's still kind of listening to Vince and Bruce, but he fully took over of NXT probably around the same time Triple H took over creative, so to speak. So that 2023, 2024 region. So this is his first class that I feel like is comfortable with that. And now Shawn's comfortable in his role. And you see that with everybody. You see people being encouraged to be themselves. Like with Javon, when I see him on television, I'm like, that's not a character. That's who this guy really is.
Yeah.
With Trick, that guy's not a character. It's like seeing Trick is honestly probably Shawn Michaels' biggest accomplishment because before, NXT title Trick Williams, it was just like, all right, he's going to be the guy that they're going to build around, right? And then, like again, they did that, but it's like, okay. And then he had that TNA run where I think that's where he really kicked it up another level.
Yeah.
And honestly, it was probably one of like my favorite runs of the past year because you saw different dimensions and different sides of Trick, and you saw like this whole new confidence because WWE's always been huge on Trick Williams, and it's a testament to Shawn Michaels to finally tap in to that missing piece.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with that. Getting back to like the way it's working, I love the fact that like all of their hard work is showing off, and I love the fact that he's so young. I mean, he's 27 years old. Look at the talent we have for the future. We have Dominic Mysterio, we have Javon Evans, we have Trick Williams, we have Braun Breaker, we have Oba Femi, there's Lash Legend. We talked before we started, we talked about Jada Parker. That's going to be another one. We have JC Jane, which is like one of the most underrated. I don't understand how she's so underrated. Like, she's so good at her role. I'm gonna make a bold comparison, but she kind of reminds me of Triple H in the sense that like she's really good at what she does, but like she's not getting the credit for being good. And it's like, man, when she comes to the main roster, that's gonna be a big deal too because she's gonna attack the women full force. She's going at it, you could tell, and she held her own in the Rumble last year. She looked like she belonged. So I mean, that's definitely a special thing. It's a special situation we have here. Speaking of special, I saw this tweet. I wanted to bring it to you because last night I felt like perfectly encapsulated it, which was like Liv and Stephanie were not really given the proper build, the proper amount of time, the proper respect for a world championship And with the little time they had, they just stole every segment they were a part of. They stole the moment. They always looked bigger. They always looked better. They had everybody talking. And do you feel like it was successful? And like, are you looking forward to what they're going to do on Saturday?
When Liv was declared like won the Rumble, and it looked like Stephanie was the most likely choice, I was just like, I'm wondering what that's gonna look like, because Stephanie, she is going into WrestleMania as world champion in her first year, which is tremendous. I don't think there's been many people to be world champion in their first year of WrestleMania. And with Liv, she's coming back, and she's not really known as a workhorse in ring, but in terms of character and development over the past year and a couple of years, she's just been on a roll. So it's kind of like a proving ground for both of them. And you had like the promos, like the sit down promo where Stephanie made Liv cry, and that got social media kind of wound up. Same thing with Liv's response promo about Stephanie and just like where she came from. And then they just decided to go like, all right, now it's on site. And then you just have these brawls for the past couple of weeks where Liv got that brutal knot on her head. And just like, I was nervous because I was just like, oh, if they're in concussion protocol, I really hope like everything's going to be okay. One with the health wise, and then potentially the WrestleMania match would be pushed back, but that seems not to be the case because they both got physical. And that's kind of the best way to kind of portray this feud, because even though they've been giving like a minute, 2 minutes, maybe even just 30 seconds, they make the most out of it. It's very Chelsea Green-esque, where anything you give her, she's going to steal that segment. Same thing with Christian when he was up the ranks in WWE and TNA. Like anytime he's in a segment, he's going to take it and make it his own. And that's exactly what Liv and Stephanie are doing, because both of them have something to prove in this matchup, where Stephanie, even as world champion, people kind of see her. It's like, she's not, does she feel like a world champion? And with Liv, it's like, yeah, she's a veteran, but does she feel like a veteran? But now it seems like Liv has an understanding on who she is as a character, and Stephanie's in that place where she knows who she is as a performer. And now I think it's going to be a sneaky match that's going to potentially steal the night of WrestleMania.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely gives off that vibe that it could be like a sneaky like WrestleMania, like steal the whole weekend, like one of those matches that we're just not expecting, because we know Stephanie is one of the better wrestlers in the world. Like when people talk about the best, like, they mention people like Omega, like MJF, they mention people like Io Sky, and Stephanie's usually mentioned with them, which is like, it's like people take notice that she's really good, and Liv's never really been looked at that way. But she does. She has gotten progressively better throughout her entire tenure. Like, Naomi stole this line a while back that she is evolution, but we have seen quite, a number of characters actually be that too. Liv is like evolution. Watching her, 717, nameless talent going out there wrestling Eva Marie, to, the Riot Squad, to like stealing Elimination Chamber with her reactions. Like, I don't know if you remember her, the Shayna Chamber, the way she acted in there was like, oh my God, like this is great. This is what she's always done. So I'm looking forward to, even last night, she's acting, right? But then just hearing her yell, the vitriol, that like hatred that she had towards Stephanie, it felt amazing to see that performance there. And yeah, I agree. I think this is going to be a sneaky good match. I was looking forward to it. I thought that they really did a great job with their little bit of time they got.
And sometimes that's all you need too, because I think for WrestleMania or the road to WrestleMania, a lot of people have it conflated in their minds where it's like promo segments, or just like they have to like you need to speak on why people don't like each other. But sometimes keep it simple, silly is like the best rule, because it's like, look at the Owen Brock build, where it's just like, again, very simple, but it's been tremendously effective. And when you overcomplicate things with other matches we're probably going to talk about, that's when it kind of loses that impact for the viewer. And with Stephanie and Liv, especially these last 2 weeks, and even that accidental shove to Liv to Roxanne, it really did kind of heat up this feud, because you'll have people who are watching saying, "Oh, okay, I know like wrestling's, the results are predetermined, but that was real."
Yeah, yeah, agreed. And I think blurring the lines is something WWE really wants to do now, which is
Yeah.
kind of they want to go back to kayfabe in terms of like we want people to believe that these people don't like each other,
Mhm.
right? Like you hear Punk talking on like all the smoke and stuff today about Pat McAfee, and it's just like what like all the smoke is not a workers podcast. This is
Mhm.
like Matt Barnes and like Steven Jackson. Like this is like these are real dudes that are
Mhm.
going to go out there, and for him to be in character talking about his dislike of like what Pat McAfee's doing and want to give him the receipt. It's like they really do want to blur the lines. They want people guessing like I don't know what's happening. I don't know what the outcome is going to be, and I think that's pretty smart. But since we're talking about stealing WrestleMania or stealing the weekend, I have to say one of my favorite parts last night was the Seth and Gunther spot. I
Mhm.
loved it. I loved Gunther's reason for wanting to face Seth. I've always thought that was a weird thing
Mhm.
that Seth didn't go after him. He,
Mhm.
you know, he he tried to cash in on John Cena.
Yeah.
It was weird. He went to Saudi to try to cash in on John Cena. You could have tried to cash in on Gunther at any moment. Like, and it's like, nah, I'm not. I don't want that.
Yeah. Yeah. I always thought like the Punk and Gunther match, and I think we're going to be talking about it for years to come, because I think that's a really good match.
Oh yeah,
Uh, Punk did damage, Seth cashed in. I always felt like I'm like, Gunther's not in this like picture, but it's like I feel like Gunther's gonna like if I was Gunther, like I'd have something to say about it. Where it's like, oh, you
yeah,
wait till after like to do it. Like
yeah.
if anybody would be insulted about like a cash in after a match, it'd probably be Gunther, because it's like the non traditional way to do so.
Yeah.
And with Gunther, like people like I'll have people in my comments saying Gunther's boring. He's this, he's that. Again, it's a matter of preference, but I love Gunther just being a
Mhm.
throwback. Just like I'm gonna do exactly what I say I will. Like I made
Yeah.
John Cena tap. I retired AJ Styles. I retired Bill Goldberg, and
Mhm.
his reasoning very simple. Where it's like, one, you have that kind of like favor again with Paul Heyman. That's you could always go in your back pocket, but something as simple where it's just like I was the world champion, you were the first world champion, and you didn't have the gall to step up and
Mhm.
actually kind of face me to see who the best person is. And again, even though this buildup, like on paper, doesn't really make any sense, I thought the reasoning was, I'm like, yeah, like he does have a point. As long as you have a point, I feel like that would be strong enough for that match. Would a Seth Braun match be probably a better cohesive story? Yeah, absolutely. But at the same time, it's like that's what you have the rest of the year for.
Mhm.
So it's like I'd rather Braun be totally 100% and not screw around with like the hernia
Yeah.
than just having like just throwing Seth and Braun in there willy nilly. Granted, the Masked Man stuff could have could have left it at home, but I do understand why they did it.
Yeah. I mean, I really enjoyed it. It's kind of a throwback, and what the irony of the fact that CM Punk cashed in on Edge after Batista beat the crap out of him like that,
Hmm.
and Batista took issue with it.
Hmm.
If you remember that story, like
Yeah,
Batista was angry that Punk did that after the fact, almost like you stole my world title,
yeah, man. I was
and
at that match at Great American Bash too.
oh
The Punk and the Batista match.
oh okay.
Yeah,
That's cool.
yeah,
That's a great one.
yeah. That was a fun
Yeah,
one.
I mean that's pretty cool. I love the fact that like Punk is like at the center of both of these stories.
Hmm.
It just kind of leans into how important CM Punk actually is to the history of professional wrestling and
Yeah.
WWE as a whole.
There's a lot of guys who are tied in with Money in the Bank. I think the first, I think like 8 or 9 Money in the Bank cash-ins involved Edge in some way, shape, or form,
Yeah,
which I think
it's
is pretty
crazy.
cool. Yeah, and then Seth
Yeah, I
Seth
love
has a
that.
good history with that too, so it's like it's perfect.
Yeah, it works really well. I love how they kind of use it that way. I'm wondering where we go from here in the future. Obviously, we do have like the one-offs like Sandow and Drew and guys like
Yeah.
that, but like, I think for the most part, and Cena, but for
Mhm.
the most part, it works pretty well. I was thinking about this real quick before we jump into WrestleMania. Um, I think it was Brock, Ric Flair, and Charlotte Flair are the only first year main roster wrestlers to go to WrestleMania champion, or to be.
I believe so. I think Brock, he was the challenger in the main event, right?
It was it against Kurt Angle.
Yeah.
Yeah. So he went in. Flair defended against Macho Man.
Yeah.
In the match because Bruce
Yeah.
Pritchard said that Hogan and Flair wasn't money, and
Bruce says a lot of things.
he does, and and then Charlotte, where she was the last Divas champ, and she wins the triple threat, which is a bang ass triple threat too. That was a really good one.
Stole the show, arguably.
Yeah, I mean that's what Charlotte did. She's Mrs. WrestleMania for a reason.
Yeah, I think Cody even put her in the top 5 of his
yeah, he did. Yeah, I mean that's who she is. I mean I think that's her title. I don't think anybody. It's kind of like when people talk about like who's who and like different things. I always think to myself like whenever people ask who Mr. SummerSlam is, I'm like, if anybody's answer is not Bret Hart, I don't know if you watch SummerSlam because that is my favorite wrestling. Like I love SummerSlam.
Yeah,
SummerSlam is like.
I think Brett's a good one. Cena's a sneaky good one. Even Brock,
Lesnar,
Brock in. I think like consistently like those 3, I think would be the ones who would be Mr. SummerSlam.
Absolutely, yeah. But man. I mean, I think Raw was a really good go home show. We had some good segments. Obviously, we had the CM Punk and Roman Reigns segment, but I think we're going to spend enough time talking about that because that's the final match of the weekend. Mm-hmm. So I think we could kind of like lean into the Monday Night Raw stuff as well. I think that they've really been lacking for a long time with go home shows. It's almost like they forgot that this last Raw and SmackDown before a PLE was like super important for the story. So I was pleasantly surprised. Like I was laying in bed, like I work at 5 a.m. and I was thinking like, oh man, I can't, I have to talk about this. Like, I have to say something. Like this is nuts. I couldn't even go to sleep. I was like, oh man, my wife's going to be so pissed. I'm going to wake her up here in a minute. It's just
I think the paranoia of the go home shows, I think it started with Ray from last year, because if you remember, he wrestled on like the SmackDown before he was supposed to wrestle El Grande Americano, and he pulled his groin, like really bad. So I think they want to keep the go home shows like really safe.
Yeah, and I think
I'm usually not a fan of the go home shows because I'm like, hey, all you doing is like, all right, it's like I'm gonna watch the show. Like, what else can you add on top? Of it?
Yeah, which is what I love, because typically it's kind of like who stands tall, right? But I think they did such a good job of like, we don't know, because we don't who stood tall between Liv and Stephanie. I don't know. They were pulled apart before anybody stood tall. Who stood tall between Roman and Punk? We don't know, because they were so respectful and they just told the truth out there about each other. It didn't really feel like anybody stood tall. Lesnar and Oba were kept away from each other. You know, like we don't know, but Lesnar grabbing the mic and talking is always something. People always pay attention. I mean, when he's got to say something, you want to listen. I thought that was a great showing for that reason. We don't know who's going to win. We have our predictions, obviously, but it's also because we kind of like, they didn't just lean into like the regular stuff. Like, oh, let's just go out there and have them just kind of like sell this one more time. They were like, nope, it's more than selling, it's a reminder this is happening. Because when the Liv thing happened, I was like, oh shit, like I didn't expect it to happen this fast. Like I thought we were getting a backstage segment with Liv later. I didn't expect this, and I loved it. I thought it was great, and obviously her facials and all that were great. But night one is jam packed, and I know we have a couple of matches that are going to be on ESPN 1, which is like the first hour. But we don't really have that kind of structure here on this show. We're just going to talk about the matches one by one and decide like how it's going to go. So why don't we start with what I think has been originally the best build for the women, and now kind of just fallen at the wayside, which is very odd with the legendary figures in it. But like AJ Lee and Becky Lynch, I don't really feel like we got, like it felt like that one-on-one face-off that they had backstage with one another. It kind of felt like that was like it. Like that was like everybody's way of saying like, hey, this is it. This is all you're getting from us. Like, what do you think? How do you see this match playing out? What, are you excited for it?
I think with this match, I really like the promo package they had yesterday too. Forgot what song they put it to, but It should be a bigger story than it actually is, where it's like you have these two monumental women who broke barriers within
Mhm.
WWE, and it just sort of seems like they're like the buildup has been fine, and I think people expected more than fine with AJ Lee and
Mhm.
Becky Lynch, because with Becky, like her heel run, I think has been probably objectively probably my favorite run of hers, just
Mhm.
because like she's like Becky will make you a star if need be, and I think she's really good at that. And I think with AJ, just coming back and then kind of just winning and winning and winning, I think that kind of deflates like everyone's sales a little bit, where it's like, all right, Becky's got to get like the one up here
Mhm.
eventually, where it's like I thought it would have like again, I don't know AJ's schedule. So it's like it's really hard to see like pacing wise how it would be. But it's like it started off strong, WrestlePalooza, then you had War Games, and then AJ left her not being in the Rumble. I was like, huh, that's an interesting choice. But
Yep.
then winning the title at Elimination Chamber, and then you have Jessica Carr as like a main factor piece, like kind of, but not really. And I think the build hasn't really been centralized as a main part of the show. And
Mhm.
AJ's reason for trying to get rid of Becky isn't the strongest, in my opinion. It's just more like I'm like, oh, now you're just irritated by her, even though you
Yeah.
beat her, So it's one of those things where it's like I think the match is gonna be really good, but it it just kind of depends. Like I message you. I'm just like, what if AJ retains and then Paige comes out and then
Yeah. God.
just
She's been talking about her a
unfortunate.
lot, so that
Yeah,
would be interesting.
yeah. But I
Yeah.
but I think Becky wins here, and
Mhm.
then just getting my prediction out a little bit earlier, and then it's like gonna be full circle of what happened last year a little bit concerning Becky. But again, it's one of those where the landscape's not gonna change depending on who wins, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I agree. My prediction is Becky Lynch as well. I would say that the reason I thought this match was going to be bigger than it is because of what, like, it's kind of what happened with Punk and Roman last night, like how they were so truthful with one another, and we finally got to like hear what wrestling fans, what the IWC has kind of been saying about the both of them, right? Like Punk has always said in promos that this is what he wanted, right? And then Roman, we saw the way the fans treated him. That's kind of how I look at AJ, because AJ Lee wasn't picked
Hmm.
like as like the main one. It was the Bellas. It was like, Natty. It was Naomi. It was everyone else. And then and I remember this time she came out and she was everybody's favorite. And that's what Becky became.
Hmm.
Because when you look at the four horsewomen, it was Sasha, it was Charlotte, it was Bailey. Like I remember when they came up together in that segment to give Divas a chance, and people were like, "Where the fuck's Bailey?"
Hmm.
Right? Like everybody was like, we want Bailey, but they couldn't leave NXT like empty,
Hmm.
right? And Becky was always like the side character. She talked about it in her book. Like she felt
Yeah.
like she was like an afterthought until
Yeah.
she wasn't.
Yeah, like even when she was champion, she was like she wasn't even captain of the SmackDown team for
Yeah.
Survivor Series, and that's like a big statement too. And
Yeah.
then she just had a new wave of confidence, like after shooting the Marine Six, I believe it was, and then everything just kind of snowballed from there, and she started carrying herself like a star, and that's
Foley,
when
her conversation with Foley too.
yeah, and it's like it's the story is basically AJ Lee walked so Becky can run. And
Yeah.
I feel
Agreed.
I feel like Becky, even though I enjoy her as a heel, she'll go over the top when she doesn't need to.
Mhm.
And I think that kind of like takes some people out of it. And I feel like that's where the disconnect might be. Uh,
Well, Becky to me, I'm looking at Becky and I think she taught WWE something. We're going to talk about it when we talk about the main event of night one, because I feel like what they're doing right now is what Becky Lynch does to the IWC to get them to leave her alone with certain things,
right.
which we'll jump into later. But yeah, I agree with you. When I look at like, that's a perfect statement. Like AJ walks so Becky could run. I feel like the everybody always fixes their mind into AJ's kids, right?
Mhm.
Roxanne, Cora Jade, and then or Elena Black,
Mhm.
and Bailey, and everybody's like, oh, these Paige,
Mhm.
these are AJ's kids, right? They're like the misfit toys, right? And I feel like sometimes it's like the person you don't think of is actually the one that is most like you. And when I look at that, I feel like this feud, like they're missing so many components because like they did the same thing. Right? Like that this is what they are. Like, yeah, obviously Becky got the main event of WrestleMania, but like AJ didn't, it's not like AJ was gonna go to WrestleMania Gina Carano. Like it's that there was that one person that helped them get that spot, right? And I wanted so much more from this, and I don't like the fact that there's like AJ missed a lot of time, in this, but I understood that like obviously with the whole McAfee stuff and all the like that changed a lot of the things, and you could tell like there was like on the fly writing like as it was happening. But I just expected so much more. But I think my official prediction for this one is definitely Becky Lynch.
Yeah,
I think Becky wins. I don't see how she doesn't.
I think Becky wins, and I don't foresee her title reign being that long. I think
No.
I think she loses at the next Raw.
Yeah. Do you have like an NXT superstar in mind that you think she's going to pull, or do you think like we're gonna get Saraya or Celeste or something?
If it, probably Soul is my guess.
Oh, that would be good. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
That would be a good one.
I'm just not sure if Soul is she on NXT tonight or next week, because that might impact it a little bit. Because I know she's facing Zarya in Last Woman Standing. I think that might be next week. So maybe delayed by a week, but I think Soul and Becky is probably the right way to go.
Yeah, I think she could definitely make Soul right off the bat, like right away. I think that would be big, and then having Soul come out to like the Mania after, like the Raw after Mania, that would be really good. Speaking of like, I guess like big time moments. I guess I mentioned Pat McAfee, and now I guess we'll jump into another celebrity. We have the Vision with ISO Speed versus the Usos and LA Knight, or as me and my son like to call him here at home, La Knight.
I call him that on occasion too.
Yeah. So yeah, this match, I don't really have much to it. I guess I'm just happy LA Knight got a Mania match. I'm happy that Jey Uso doesn't fall out of Mania like they're with like Io and Tiffany. And obviously Logan Paul was going to be on, and it's good to see Austin Theory doing well because he did kind of fall at the wayside. I'm excited to see what Speed is going to provide, and I wouldn't be surprised if somewhere down the road we get a Speed versus Logan Paul match out of this. But I do think the Vision and Speed win because I don't think Speed's coming in to lose.
Yeah, I actually I'm leaning towards the other way. I think Usos and LA Knight are gonna win. Yeah, because like with Speed, like he's a phenomenal seller. You know what I mean? So he's gonna get his comeuppance one way or another. Now that doesn't mean that the team is losing, but I feel like since the Vision already won the World Tag Titles, like you kind of gotta either even it out a little bit or just kind of like give the babyfaces something to do. This match being on ESPN too, I believe, it's a good choice, just because you're going to see the crowd participation for the Usos, LA Knight, Speed, Logan Paul is there, Austin Theory. Happy that he's in the spot, especially when he detailed like why he was off TV last year for like that hernia, and even coming up with a contract renewal too. That's going to be a stressful thing, and being in the building for like the Vision World Title change, very loud. That's a one thing with these shows. Even though people are like, "Oh, crowds are dead," it's like when you're in there, it's like they're pretty loud, they're pretty lively. I took my buddy who doesn't watch wrestling. He's like, "Oh wow, this is pretty hype. This is more hype than a Knicks game," So it's like it's always cool. So I'm leaning towards like Usos and the LA Knight winning, just because like if the Usos are going after the tag titles, you want a claim for it, and I think them getting the win here and possibly a tag title match on Monday is what I would probably do. But again, not my company, not my problem. I think there's going to be a ridiculous thing with Speed. Probably going to take a 1D or a BFT, and then we'll get the finish from there.
Yeah. All right. Well, I mean, yeah, I guess that's our first disagree on that one. I think for sure the celebrity wins on that, but disagreements sometimes bring great feuds.
Yeah,
Which is
I don't mind being wrong.
yeah. I mean, yeah, I agree. I agree, especially in professional wrestling. But
Yeah.
speaking of great feuds, we have a really good one. I would say as good as the Festival of Friendships,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah.
Because they kind of had the world title taken away from them, and
Mhm.
they definitely feel like Jacob and Drew could have definitely been the world title match of WrestleMania Night 1,
Oh,
especially with
yes.
all the shenanigans happening now. It
Mhm.
almost feels like this feels very reminiscent of Kevin Owens, Chris Jericho, Goldberg, and Brock Lesnar. Like
Mhm.
that's kind of how I've just where it's like you
Mhm.
didn't need the world title in that match,
Mhm.
especially if you were gonna do this shit.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, Jacob and Drew are selling it. This is amazing. Drew being able to go out there and just kind of do what he does. This guy
Mhm.
sells feuds. This guy gets you invested, whether you love him or you hate him. I personally think he's always the good guy. I don't think he's a bad guy in anything he does. Like
Yeah.
I don't know. When I watch him, I'm like, I think is he supposed to be playing a heel because all he does is speak the truth a lot.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? Which is
Yeah.
very weird.
Yeah, I do like how he does his promos and his feuds where he's like, again, it's a being a good heel where you're not technically wrong. It's just how you
Yeah.
go about it where it's gonna rub people the wrong way. And
Yeah.
the best heels are always the ones that believe they're right and
Yeah.
legitimate in their argument. And Drew is legitimate in his arguments.
Yeah.
It's just how you go about it, and then it's like you just talk about it a lot, and then it's it. Drew's one of my favorite characters in WWE, just because you can see how everything like is from his vantage point, and
Mhm.
you could see why he became the person that he is today. Starting with that Clash at the Castle match with Roman, and then you continue on stockpiling that story, and that's what WWE is doing nowadays more than storylines. They're doing story arcs for characters, which I feel like with Drew, he has one of the stronger story arcs, especially when he won the WWE title this year, was like a
Yeah.
culmination of just him consistently getting screwed. And with Jacob, he was screwed out of, the number one contendership when he was written off TV. I still think there's a loose end that is going to be tied there eventually. But with
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it was Drew. I think we'll find out eventually who it is.
Yeah, I think
But
someone who's a punter might have something to say about that.
oh, really? That's
Mhm.
interesting. That would be. Oh, you think he's going to spill the beans?
Yeah,
Not that he did it.
the thing is, it's like you lose 11 teeth, like that's got to be a kick to the face, right?
Oh, understood, understood. That makes sense. That makes sense. Yeah. I mean, I think my official prediction for this is Fatu.
Yeah,
I don't see it
that's where
going
I'm
any
going.
other way.
Yeah, and if I want to peel the curtain back a little bit, like Drew's doing the Highlander thing right now.
Mhm.
Good for him too. And with Jacob, this is how you solidify him in that next level. Where last
Yeah.
year it was about him establishing himself as a singles. Now it's him being that main event guy. Where I think, like if Randy does win the championship, like you have challengers built up for him. You have a
Mhm.
Fatu. You have a Drew coming back, where Drew is angry that Randy kind of framed him to be in
Yeah.
this kind of situation. So yeah, I think Fatu is the right decision, and then this is probably the right match to be on ESPN2 as well, because you're going to see a lot of like hardcore stuff. Though I am curious to see how Drew's going to tie in his bored at work tweet this time around.
I don't think. Yeah, I don't. He might get smacked for something like that during the match, but um, I think. Yeah, I mean, I look at this and I think this is going to be a star-making moment for Jacob. I think last year he kind of had his like showing to the world, and I think this
Mhm.
time it's going to not having a title involved and just being able to go out there and just be like just the Samoan werewolf and just
Mhm.
get to go out there and just have just a straight up street fight with Drew McIntyre because that's what Drew does best, which is blood feuds.
Mhm.
This is going to be like a star-making moment for him. I think we're coming out of WrestleMania weekend with like a lot of wrestling fans pushing. Like I think a lot of people will be jumping ship to new wrestlers as like, you know, oh, I used to love this guy, but this is my guy now.
Mhm.
You know, I think that's going to happen a lot. I mean, obviously, there's going to be like the lifers, like the Codys and the Roman Punk fans and stuff like that. But for the most part, I would not be surprised if people are like, okay, you know, I used to wear this shirt. Now I'm going to buy this shirt. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? Like, I think it's definitely going to be that way. But speaking of passionate fan bases, obviously, we have Gunther versus Seth Rollins. Gunther, not so popular with the fans. Seth Rollins, very popular with the fans. And
Mhm.
as I said in a video about a week ago, there is something endearing about babyface Seth Rollins. He is a very good babyface. Like I
Mhm.
love, like even listening to him now. Like, look, he's not wearing the flamboyant clothes. He's just going out there. He's just wearing the black on black on black, and he's just like, it's time for war, and you are getting like, you know, everything that encapsulates Seth Rollins
Mhm.
in one. And I think he is making the case that he is like our generation's Mr. WrestleMania. And I think him and Gunther, I do think they're going to steal the show.
Yeah, what really helps is sometimes, like, obviously having a story heading into WrestleMania is good, and
Mhm.
even though this is somewhat been thrown together, sometimes that could work to a match's benefit because the
Mhm.
expectations aren't as high. When they do something spectacular, it outweighs the underwhelming build of it
Yeah.
all. And with Gunther, his character has just kind of been plateaued ever since he retired AJ, and
Mhm.
now you could be on this different peak with Seth, where Seth was focusing on the vision and Gunther's just focused on, you know, just being the best in ring person
Mhm.
in WWE. It's very it's an interesting combination where you look at this match and you're like, we got this match before, and then you realize it's like, oh, we haven't gotten this match like on a grand stage. Like you had the Seth and Walter match, I believe, when they were
Yeah.
overseas in the Build to Survivor series in 2019. But again, that ended kind of as a schmaz, so to speak. And this is the first time where it's like you're gonna see them like completely. It's like, all right, here's the canvas, paint your picture. And
Yeah.
that's what I'm really excited about.
Yeah, I mean, I do think this engine is Smosh as well. Like,
Mhm.
I think Braun Breaker has a lot to say with the ending of this match.
Yeah.
Like, I do think Gunther wins. I
Mhm.
think Seth is probably going to sell his ass off for that spear when it comes.
Mhm.
I that's just how I see it. I see Gunther winning this match thanks to
Yeah.
Braun.
I see Gunther winning this match, but what I would do is I'd have Gunther win clean.
Mm,
Like clean, like, you know, have him in like the sleeper hold, but like put like the chicken wing on it, like on the surgery
yeah,
repaired shoulder. And then on the Raw after Mania, you have Braun spear Seth in a hoodie like he did last year when the Vision formed. Kind of have like that full circle moment, like one
yeah,
year later, like Braun returns to like take out Seth. But I would prefer because Gunther is the kind of guy who can win clean as a
yeah.
heel, and it's just going to legitimize him. And like Gunther's not losing a match until he's world champion again, in my opinion. Uh,
Yeah, I agree. I think he definitely has like the best win percentage in wrestling history. Like he eclipsed
mhm.
Hogan recently.
Yeah,
Um, which is crazy because I really thought Cody was going to do that because he had like 2 years ago, he lost three matches and not a single one clean. And I was like,
yeah,
wow, that's nuts. He had 100 matches, he lost three. And I
yeah.
was like, well, okay, he's going to eclipse like Hogan's like winning percentage.
Mhm.
Um, but yeah, I mean, I think I'm looking forward to this. I wanted to say this one thing about Gunther before we move on to Stephanie and Liv. It's funny that people get his character and his in-ring style wrong.
Mhm.
Like I think about this a lot, you know, as someone who like trained and was able to like work with people that really cared about technical wrestling and stuff, like the Haas brothers and things like that. Like the one thing I'll say is like I don't view him as like a dominant force. I
Mhm.
view him as a guy that wins by any means necessary, just clean.
Mhm.
Right? Like yeah, he might have to low blow you or something, but like for the most part, Gunther gets the shit kicked out of him like
Mhm.
all the time. Like if
Yeah.
you go back to his matches like with like Tyler Bate, if you go to his matches with like Ilya Dragunov, if like any match that he's ever had, his match with Punk, he
Mhm.
sells his ass off for everyone. And I
Mhm.
think people are always like, oh, he's too dominant. I think what they're seeing is the win
Mhm.
instead of actually watching the matches. And there's a reason why so many wrestlers that work for this company and wrestlers that work for other
Mhm.
companies always bring him up when they talk
Mhm.
about the best wrestlers in the world
Mhm.
because he's able to do that. And it's just really interesting
Yeah.
that people view his style and they just get it so wrong.
It kinda reminds me if you watched UFC, like, in 2000, like, 8, 2009, like, around that
Mm.
area, Lyoto Machida,
Yeah.
where he was, very karate based, and a
Yeah.
lot of MMA fans found that boring,
Mhm.
but it was effective.
Yeah.
And with Gunther, his style is legitimately picking apart, like, the opponent in a realistic way.
Yeah.
And where people will comment on my videos saying like, "Oh, he's boring. He's this." I'm like, he's boring because he's wrestling. You
Mhm.
know what I mean? Because like, I love the fact that for a long time he didn't have a finisher. Like
Yes,
he would
I
just
think
win
that's
by anything.
brilliant.
Yeah, because like he could go in the sky with the
Mhm.
splash. He could do the like he could just win with a chop. He could do the Boston
Yeah,
Crab. He could do the power bomb. He could do the choke, and he's like just multifaceted, and he's the definition of a five-tool player inside the
yeah,
ring. And anytime he wins, it is believable. It's not
yeah,
like one of these things where it's like, okay, he hit his finish and that's why somebody lost. It's like, no,
yes,
he like any position that you put him in, he is going to succeed and thrive in.
yeah,
And I really do enjoy Gunther and just like whatever he does, I'm always like glued to the screen because it's very Bret Hart esque in a way
yeah. It's funny, I was
where
gonna compare him to somebody else. Go ahead.
yeah, yeah, where it's like he's in the same place that he wants to be.
Mhm.
And it's like very like Bret Hart, Randy Orton, Christian, and an in-ring psychology standpoint where it's like they're in the perfect position no matter where they are. And Gunther
Mhm.
just has that old school grittiness to him where I think it just kind of like it like enhances it tenfold.
Yeah, I think what he's missing is, like, that I wouldn't say flamboyancy, I would say that he's definitely missing, like, that certain connection with the audience
Mhm.
because it's funny, Surfer Sting worked a lot like that. Where
Mhm.
like if you watch a lot of his matches in the 90s, it was rare that he actually won with the Scorpion Deathlock.
Mhm.
A lot of the times he'd get the splash off the top, he'd give you a jumping DDT,
Mhm.
he'd give you like, like you'd get like a tossing German suplex. Like it was weird the way he won. It was like, bro, you gotta finish. Like, what are you doing? And like as a kid, being my favorite wrestler, I'm like, I want to see him Scorpion Death like someone. But yeah, with Gunther, I see it. It's funny, and it reminds me a lot of Bret Hart's King of the Ring win, where like
Mhm.
Vince challenged him to win every single match without using the sharpshooter,
Yeah.
and he did, and it was awesome.
Mhm.
Right, like that's kind of like that's what it is. I just wish people had more of an appreciation for Gunther because
Mhm.
I think right now all anybody cares about is character,
Mhm.
and they're not realizing that he's just like an old school shooter. Like
Mhm.
he's just like that old school type of guy. But speaking of old school meets new school, we have Stephanie Becker, who is like very much the Bret Hart for the women's division
Mhm.
versus the Shawn Michaels for the women's division, I guess you would say, right? With Liv
Yeah.
Morgan. I mean, we
Yeah.
kind of have this little matchup going on here. Um, like obviously we talked about this on the Raw recap, but so we won't touch on this a lot here. But who do you think wins this match?
I think Liv takes it.
Yeah, 100%. I
Yeah.
yeah, I don't think there's anything. I
Yeah,
don't think
because
there's anything,
because there's a point in the reign where it's like you can only take it so far,
Mhm.
and it's like I always say wrestlers kind of have two different characters when they're chasing the title and when they're champion,
Yeah.
and that champion when you're champion multiple times, you should change as you get more reigns with it. I feel like with
Mhm.
Stephanie, she's already been kind of legitimized with this run, and now Liv is a bigger star than she was when she held the world title the first time.
Yeah.
So it and plus you have that side story with not only Raquel but with Roxanne potentially too. So there's a lot
Mm.
more meat on the bone with a Liv title reign than a Stephanie one at this point.
Yeah, I agree with you wholeheartedly. I I just think it like right now there's just like all the signs are like if I were to bet on any of these, this is my sure thing. This is
Mhm.
my absolutely this is going to happen. I mean, she has her article dropped today in which she talks about like all of her like years in wrestling, and then she with all those like nice photos and stuff. She had her music video drop yesterday. She's gonna be like she already filmed the movie, so she doesn't have to walk away for it,
Mhm.
right? But she can be on the red carpet as the world champion.
Mhm.
And I think everything's leading. Plus, there's that rumor that came out before Royal Rumble that WWE was going to showcase one female talent as like this was their mania, right? And
Mhm.
every year we've always had one of the women just kind of be like this was theirs. Like we've had Bailey when she wins the Fatal 4-Way. We've had Charlotte multiple times. We've had Rhea multiple times. We've had Becky.
Mhm.
We've had Bianca. We've had Sasha. We've had all of these people like have their moments, and I think this we've had AJ. We've had all these people have their moments, and I think this is her time to shine.
Mhm. Yeah, this is definitely Liv's big moment, and this
Mhm.
is going to be the year of Liv Morgan, so to speak, where
Yeah,
she isn't tied down to because what happened with her as world champion the first time, it was the revenge tour, so it was
yeah,
indirectly about Rhea than it was about Liv.
yeah,
Now this time around, you could tell that Liv story, and you could finally tell that Judgment Day story of Raquel and
yeah.
Roxanne and just kind of move forward from there.
Yeah, I mean, I think we made a prediction. Like, I think you and I talked about it before. Like, I would love Liv to win,
Mhm.
and then kind of like because she's doing the on-site thing now, like the
Mhm.
Jersey thing.
Yeah.
I'd like her to have an open challenge, and then Raquel and Roxanne turn on her and take the
Mhm.
title from her like that. Like, I just
No,
want to
that'd be
see it.
amazing.
I
Yeah.
just I feel like her character, no matter what, is always going to be looked at as a babyface, right?
Mhm.
Like we talk about Drew McIntyre and how like everything he says is truth,
Mhm.
and fans love him for it, but he's supposed to be presented as the heel. He's
Mhm.
kind of like the Jason Todd of like the WWE,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And like that's kind of how I look at Liv Morgan, where it's like, it doesn't matter what she says, it doesn't matter what
Mhm.
she does. Everybody just feels like she's real. Like this is who
Mhm.
you mentioned about Javon Evans, like he
Mhm.
feels real,
Mhm.
right? Like this is what she feels like, and it almost feels natural. Which is strange because she did not present herself this way during Total Divas, you know. but
Yeah,
but
reality
speak
TV.
yeah, speaking of Total Divas, the Bellas getting
Mhm.
their first WrestleMania match, hopefully, fingers crossed, like obviously not a big Nikki fan, but I don't
Yeah.
want them to be hurt.
Right,
That
yeah,
would be
yeah.
terrible.
Yeah.
We have the Fatal 4-Way for the Women's Tag Team Championships with the Irresistible Force. We have Charlexa, and then we have Bailey and Lyra with
Mhm.
the Bellas. Um, I'm looking forward to this. I love the fact that these like tag teams get showcased. The Bellas get to step in the ring with some like really good, talented women.
Mhm.
Um, Nikki obviously already having a relationship with Charlotte,
Mhm.
being that she got the whole Charlotte thing going,
Mhm.
and obviously this is great for them to pass the torch. I originally thought the Bellas would win the tag titles here, but I think that's your fault. And but yeah, I think we get like the Irresistible Force. I think that a lot of people want them to retain, but I think this is a full circle moment for Bailey.
I agree. I think Bailey Lyra is the correct move to make just
Mhm.
because, the story is there where they were supposed to get the women's tag title match, and obviously Becky happened,
Mhm.
and now you finally get that moment of that full circle of Lyra and Bailey finally achieving this goal. And
Mhm.
even though the story wasn't the smoothest, you had the double personalities of Bailey that kind of dropped a little bit. But now we're at a point where they're not only just a tag team that was thrown together last year. Now they're a tag team that's a legitimate tag team.
Yeah.
And that's that's one way to pay off the story. And I feel like that's the perfect way to put a bow on it. And then after WrestleMania, as we saw, with Lyra and Alexa winning matches for their teams respectively, I think it's that's the direction you go post Mania.
Yeah, I agree. I love the fact that you mentioned how they were thrown together essentially, and then they became something because it reminds me of like the Hollywood Blondes.
Mhm.
It reminds me of the Bar. right? Team Hell No, like these groups that were thrown together, like we don't have nothing to do for you, like go do this, and then it's like, wow, like these guys mesh so well together, and I love that for both of them. I love the fact that Bailey just gets to continue her legendary career. And Lyra, she just continues to have these moments because she's Lyra Valkyria. And wouldn't that be crazy for her to win the tag titles for the second year in a row at WrestleMania? Like, that is so nuts. So, and this time with the person she should have won it like with all along, like it almost feels like I mentioned before, it's like a full circle moment. Now let's talk about everybody's favorite match, everybody's favorite story going into WrestleMania 42. We have the night one main event that apparently has stirred an uproar. Your face tells me you have a lot to say, so I'm just gonna sit back and drink my water for a second, and I'm just gonna let you wax poetic.
Yeah, Cody and Randy have had a 20-year history with each other. So like about 20-year history. And it seemed like, you got the layup right there, and instead of going for the layup, you see somebody open up the half court and you're like, they can make that shot. And instead of going for the layup, you kind of just toss it back to half court to see if that person can make that shot. That's kind of like what the story is with the addition of Pat McAfee. Now, I will say heel Pat in NXT and very enjoyable. Very enjoyable. I think his stuff with Adam Cole is very good.
Yeah.
And when he was revealed,
he's very much that character right now.
Yeah. And I do find it interesting. Randy was on the phone saying wrestling has more than one royal family. I didn't think it was going to be somebody from a lineage. I always thought like Randy was referring to himself because, that's the thing. But the line that Punk says like on Raw, where he said he doesn't he hates that wrestling has more than one royal family. That's kind of interesting, and it kind of set up Punk and Cody down the line. But we're talking about Cody and Randy here. And the story is very simple. It's Randy going for number 15. That should be the main focus on everything. But now it's Pat McAfee. John Cena last year wanted to ruin wrestling. Now Pat McAfee is trying to make wrestling great again. And whether you believe or not, like he's unscripted or like anything like that, it's just if you ever watch The Simpsons and Itchy, Scratchy, and Poochie, it's kind of like that the addition of like a cool, hip, new character that the show creators or the runners of Fox wanted to put in there instead of just letting like the story speak for itself. And it's got to be demoralizing to a portion of the roster where it's like I'm trying to get television time on a 3-hour show and Pat McAfee is just like kind of like
14 minutes,
suffocating this angle a little bit. And he's the reason why the tickets are cheaper, apparently, even though that's a babyface move. It's like, it's very, and he's saying meta things just to like pop the internet, which I'm not sure is the greatest thing to do. Because when Cody said, like, it's like, oh, you mentioned Marks and IWC. If you listen to the crowd, they're not reacting because they don't know what Cody is talking about. Because, like, even though Pat's saying it, the translation to online and in person are completely different.
Absolutely. Yep.
And I feel like this story, again, could have been a layup. But for me, as like, what we do and see, it's like, I'm going to let them tell their story and then we'll see if they stick the landing. And right now, it's going to take a Hail Mary pass, so to speak, to see if they stick the landing with this one.
Yeah, I mean, so I will say this. I have like I said, I'm trying to be honest and not be like in character, my like anti-Cody character. I want to say this because I'm not going to put this on the feet of Cody. What I will say is I do think wrestling fans in general have like fantasy booked this Cody versus Randy because they had a blow off match. at WrestleMania. Like they had the Cody, Randy, Ted DiBiase match. And I do feel like that we did just get this for King of the Ring. And I stand on this, and I might just be crazy thinking this, but based on all of the videos that I've seen, all the tweets I've seen, everybody is expecting 2009 Randy Orton to come out and to face the independent wrestling American Nightmare. And if that were what we were going to get, I would absolutely be on board with everybody else. I'd be like, why would you ruin this? Because this is like, I couldn't beat you as like Cody Rhodes with no knee pads, but I can beat you like this. Like this is who I was the whole time. I had to like, I had to go through the glass like fields. I had to crawl on the landmines to get to where I am today. And that felt like, okay, that could be a story, but the WWE, like we've talked about this before, like they just have not allowed Cody to be that guy. Like, I don't know what it is, why they let Pat McAfee do it. They let Punk do it. They let Liv do it. Like, they let Jade do it. Like, I don't understand. He is the guy. Like, he's the face of the company. Like, I know everybody wants to say it's Roman. I wear his merch. I'm a Roman fan. He's my favorite guy going today. But, like, Roman passed the torch to Cody. Like, that's it. This is your company now. And it's almost like they've handcuffed him where they're like, we just need you to be white meat. And I don't think that the world we live in today, like, accepted that all around. Like, I think they want to see a natural Cody, the Cody that, like, is the Cody we get on his Wheatley tour bus. Like, that feels more like the indie Cody, right? Like, the Cody we get on CVV, the Cody we get on all these podcasts. That feels like the real American Nightmare. The guy we get on screen feels like he walks through Gorilla, and then all of a sudden the movie goes from rated R to PG-13 because it's like, this is the TV version, right? Like when you watch like Scream on like HBO Max, you're like, oh yeah, this is like great. And then you watch it on like TNT, you're like, what? You took out the best part. You know what I mean? Like that's what it feels like with Cody. And I feel like the addition of Pat McAfee, I don't know what it is. I think something should be said that like it does feel like somebody in TKO kind of like I think I said it to you. It does feel like personal sabotage to Cody Rhodes. This is the fourth year in a row where they've involved themselves in his WrestleMania story. And it's like, as someone who knocks him as much as I do, it does feel a little unfair to him. Like, just let the man go out there and cook. We know he can do it. Like, everybody knows he can do it. I don't understand. Like, do they not think he can do it?
You pose a very good question, TKO and Cody, and whether or not like they really trust him. I feel like with Cody, it's really tough being that Superman babyface. We've seen it with Cena, we've seen it with Roman, and Cody before they put him with John, like, and that was going to be an uphill battle if John stayed babyface anyway. But he wasn't really getting booed that much. Maybe a little with the Kevin Owens feud, but even then, it's still like, oh, it's Kevin Owens. It's like with Cody, he's in the position that very few can handle, and that is your opponent is going to have both hands up. You're going to face them with one hand tied behind your back, and it's your least dominant hand.
Yeah.
So you're going to just kind of do what you need to do to kind of get by, because we've seen Cody cut these fiery, like, white meat babyface promos, like the build up to War Games, even though his involvement was kind of questionable. Like, why is he in War Games? But it's like he sold that match within 60 seconds. And even this past Friday, Cody, really good responses to Pat McAfee. And if the job was for the crowd to get behind Cody, like, I think his reactions are better than they were when Randy was, caving his head in, so if that was the goal, I guess mission accomplished. But at the same time, it's adding fluff to an already overcrowded like story that needs that simplicity that I feel like every other story has. Because if you think about it, every story on WrestleMania right now, for better or for worse, is simple to understand. I can talk about each match on this card and why it's happening. With the whole Cody Randy build up, if you wanted me to talk about from the Rumble until now, like I'm like, all right, I'm like that Charlie Day meme where it's like you have the whiteboard and you have all like the things trying to piece everything together when it should just be a narrow straight line.
Yeah.
And with Pat McAfee and the Jelly Roll, and Jelly Roll's been very good in his role. I know people like harp on Jelly Roll, but it's like he's actually a pretty good promo. And him saying it's like, look, this like I think it's pretty smart how they're using him, where he's like, look, it should be about these two guys who have 20 years of history together. You know, like that should be the focus. And I think, you know, with Pat and Randy, you know, and the Save Wrestling thing and just adding more like elements that don't need to be there, it's just convoluted to the point of where it's going to get a reaction out of the ordinary fan base or the casual fan base. But for people who watch consistently like you or I, it's just going to, it's going to be frustrating. And it is frustrating to watch because you know what each of these talents can do when, you know, it's like, all right, let's keep it simple. Because their King of the Ring matchup was really good. But now it's like you're kind of like worrying. It's like, are we going to get John and Cody from last year? But I think it's going to be better considering that one, Randy's actually worked heel a lot more than John. It's just a matter of, are we going to get the Randy where it's going to be a slow, methodical Randy headlock Orton, or are we going to get Cody kind of fighting from underneath, doing like an old school like NWA kind of deal?
Yeah, wrestling fans don't like that version of a heel. I've heard way too much over the past 10 years about that. Like, you don't have to lose all your stuff. You do. You do. Like, if you like it, I'm not going to do it. Like, that's the point.
Yeah, and that's why John didn't do anything last year's WrestleMania. His goal was to ruin wrestling. He's like, all right, I'm not going to do the John Cena stuff.
Yep. And that was pretty much it. I mean, either way, I feel like this entire thing, like, I just feel like, so I mentioned about it when we opened the show talking about AJ and Becky. Becky has done this brilliant thing where she's played reverse psychology with wrestling fans. Where like she was deemed the IWC's favorite thing, which is the Hogan thing, right? Like everybody's Hogan, right?
Yeah.
And she took it and ran with it. She used it. Where it was like, oh, I'm Becky Hogan. I'm holding everybody down. Okay, that's exactly what I'm going to do. Right. And she even wore red and yellow because it was like, all right, if you're going to call me it, like I'm going to be it. And you tell me I'm holding people down, I'm going to do it. And I think that's what's happening with this. I think WWE is tired of their golden boy getting the reactions he's getting. And they're like, you know what? You guys don't like, you guys are saying these things about our company. What if we put one of you guys out there, say the same stuff, and it might turn into one of these where it's like, no, you know, like we can bash our company, but you can't. You're an outsider, right? And they wind up cheering for Cody. It could turn out like that. So I feel like this is a little bit of a reverse psychology to get them to cheer Cody, because either way, my official prediction is Cody's not dropping that championship. No way. I don't see it. I don't see any reason for Randy to be champion.
Yeah, like I was leaning Cody, but then Pat really scared me by saying if Randy Orton doesn't win, then he's gone from WWE, and I feel like Pat's gonna be here for a little bit. But then again, in my other part of my brain, I'm like, well, he's a heel. He could always go back on his word.
Yeah.
And I feel like with Cody, like he needs a win to kind of legitimize himself a little bit. And I know that's crazy to think about because like he's already the top guy. But if you look at his WrestleMania main event catalog, he's only won that match with Roman. You know, it's like I feel like
he lost to The Rock.
Yeah, like I feel like he needs the win here more than Randy, and that's wild to think because I know people want to see Randy as champion again, but again, you could always wait for it. You could always wait for it.
Yeah. I mean, people can fight back and be like, "Well, Shawn didn't have a winning record. Triple H didn't have a winning record. They were never the guy."
Yeah,
they were never the guy.
Yeah,
like they were very good in their role, and Shawn, but Shawn was a transitional champ. Like people don't even realize that he won at Survivor Series to get the title to Austin.
Yeah,
like that was really fast.
And even when he lost at Survivor Series and then won at the Rumble, he was going to drop it to Sid or Brett anyway.
Yeah, exactly. So it was like he was positioned to be like, okay, yeah, and he's the GOAT. He's the greatest of all time. Like, I'm not going to sit here and dispute it, but it's almost like I don't know. Cody's different than those guys because Cody is the guy. He is the main guy, right? Yeah. All right. So just before we jump into night 2, we have we're both taking Becky Lynch. You're taking the Usos and LeKnight, and I am going with Division and Speed. We're both taking Fatu. We're both taking Gunther. We're both taking Liv. Sure thing. We got Bailey and Lyra winning this match. And you are going with Randy?
I'm going like again, 52 Cody, 48 Randy. So Cody's winning out with this because the thing is with this story, like I feel like it's setting up a Cody win, and then you're gonna have the match at Backlash, and Pat's gonna go back on his word and try to get Randy again. But again, we'll see. Again, with night 1, you have a little bit more flexibility and leaving a taste in people's mouths. So if it's like an ending that people aren't really looking forward to, it's only night 1. Night 2 is the one where it's like, all right, let's see how this WrestleMania really is.
Yeah, agreed. Yeah, I'm just going Cody. I agree with you. Everything you said about he needs to win. I think about it, and losing to John, losing to Roman. He has 1 win against Roman. He's lost 3 WrestleMania main events. And that would be crazy for him to have 5 WrestleMania main events and to lose 4 of them. Just doesn't really make sense when you're the guy, you know, but that's just it. But speaking of the guy, why don't we talk about probably the universally like most popular character in the business, Rhea Ripley, going in there for the WWE Women's Championship against the IWC's most hated woman, Jade Cargill.
The Jade hate is always strange to me.
I don't understand it. I really don't. They loved her when she came over. Like I don't like everybody was like, oh yeah, we're gonna make her a star. They did. And now you're mad at her. It makes no sense.
I mean, it's like she was made a star, not how people expected her to be made a star, if that makes any sense. Where it's like, it's like, oh, she's a better heel. I'm like, okay, she's a heel. And then people were criticizing her of not defending her title, but she didn't defend her title the same length as Punk for a little bit.
Yeah.
And I felt like that was really strange. Like, why are we criticizing one but not the other? And with Jade, like a lot of things, like, yes, like she's like in ring wise, she's not as advanced as her counterparts, but a lot of it has to do with like when you think of like how Jade, like when Jade won the championship, the SmackDown women's division was kind of like bare bones at that point.
Yeah.
So it's just like you could put it on Jade, but at the same time, there's a lot of factors that were working against her, and that shouldn't have been the case.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I mean, personally, massive fan of Rhea Ripley. She's got to take this loss. It's not so much that I'm picking Jade. That's my official prediction, but Rhea cannot win this match. She just can't. This is Jade Cargill's first PLE title defense. She's 2-0 at WrestleMania. This would set her 3-0. She just beat Io Sky. If we're building towards the future, we have some big time names, heavy hitters coming back. We have Naomi coming back. I don't know if that was leaked or not, if Jay meant to say that, but on their Wing Fest today with the Usos, he said they would try to make each other laugh by throwing each other the football. He said your newborn baby's cute, and I'm just thinking like, what?
Just
like
casually.
When did that happen?
It's like the podcast when Cody accidentally revealed he had 2 kids and not 1.
Yeah. It was just like, what do you mean? Yeah, I mean, you have Naomi coming back, you have Bianca coming back. I mean, obviously Bianca's doing red carpets now, so like I feel like this is a lot. Like we're getting to that point. So I know the women's division could definitely use Rhea Ripley as champion, right? Especially since she's doing so much like media more like now. But The two main reasons why I think Rhea needs to lose this match is, one, I think Jade needs this win. This is a big time moment for her, and also not to play into like conspiracy theories or anything like that, but having Rhea Ripley win a world title the same pay-per-view that Liv Morgan wins a world title will just be everybody's reason as to why WWE is always putting Rhea ahead of Liv. So I think it would be a great thing to have Liv be the one of the two that walks out of Mania weekend as champion.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I think Jade should win here because her characterization is just kind of starting. You know what I mean? Like, she just has B-Fab and Michin as, faction.
She's got her own J&J security.
And then Bianca potentially returning, that either sets up a feud, or because Rhea and Io, I feel like are connected, Bianca might feel a certain way that Rhea and Io have gotten closer while she's on the sidelines. So there's a lot of interest in Bianca returning, and which side is she on, so to speak. And
anything, I would love it. Just come back.
Yeah, but yeah, I think Jade needs to win more. I think it's going to solidify her more. Rhea's already made. She doesn't need a title in order to be the most popular, not just women, just wrestler WWE has. Yeah, she's always like top 4 or 5, even top 3.
Yeah, go feud with Julia for the U.S. title. Go make that title.
Yeah, like again, Rhea's fine where she is. She doesn't need a championship right now. Like, agreed. I know, I've been disappointed in their championship runs, but I feel like
Rio. They were good tag champs.
No, Rio I loved. I'm just talking about world title runs for Rio.
Yeah, when her for the Judgment Day really ruins women's titles.
Yeah. But now with the Judgment Day being a more female dominated faction, I feel like that's gonna be at least a little bit of a different dynamic. I say Jade wins. She needs it, and then maybe at the end you have Bianca returning, maybe a heel turn, maybe not, but then you set up the next program from there.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I wouldn't mind seeing like Rhea taking the loss by, Jade doesn't have to beat her clean if they want to protect their investment, which is clearly Rhea. And then after she gets the win, J&J security comes in, they start pounding her down, and then you hear the whip. You know what I mean? Like, I think that's a perfect way to bring Bianca back.
Yeah.
Rhea stands tall, even though she didn't win the title, right? Because they're going to stand tall together. Yeah. And I think that's a really great way to protect everybody. It gets Jade what we want for her as fans, and then it also obviously just it sets up Bianca's return in a monumental way, and then Bianca can just go for the world title right away, because that's fine by me. I don't care. I've never been one of these people that gets pissed off when people come back from injury and they jump into the world title picture. I always look at it as they were world, that's who they are. Deal with it. Charlotte coming back and beating Ronda right away. People were pissed, and I was like, shut up. It's Charlotte Flair.
The thing is, it's would you rather them rip the Band-Aid off, or do you rather them go into this feud when you know where they're gonna go? You know what I mean? Yeah. Where it's just hey, just rip the Band-Aid off. Sometimes that's just the best way to do it.
Yeah, because Bianca as champion is fucking amazing. She had a 400-day reign. It was insane.
Yeah, it was she probably the best women's run that we've had in a while.
Yeah, I loved it. So next, let's talk about the ladder match. We got the Intercontinental Championship with Penta, Dragon Lee, Rusev, JD, Baby Benoit McDonough, Penta, and Javon Evans. He doesn't remind you of him, his style and everything. Besides the moonsault, I feel like they work exactly the same.
It's the headbutt,
Oh, is that what it is? I don't know. When I watch it, his ruthless aggression, I'm just somebody knock out a tooth. Have him be toothless aggression. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I'm very happy he's in this match too.
Yeah, me too. I think this is great for him. I love it. I think it's great that he kind of like sheds like the shadow of like Finn,
Mm-hmm.
and then he gets to go have his own singles match for the championship. I think it's just
Mm-hmm.
perfect for him. I think it's great. Oh, and Rey Mysterio, it's 7-man match. That's right. Rey Mysterio has somehow finagled his way into this match.
Is it 6 or 7? I don't. And that's not a 6-7 joke. I think it's 6.
Well, oh yeah, you're right. You're right. You're right. I did say Rey Mysterio. For some reason, I looked like Grande Americano here. Yeah.
No, I wish he was here, but
Yeah. Yeah. No. I'm happy that he's doing the AAA thing. Yeah.
oh my gosh, like that pole part brawl was probably the best I've seen in a while.
Yeah, dude, that was great. That
Oh my
promo was
gosh.
amazing too. I don't know if you understood it, but it was amazing.
Like I took enough like middle school, high school Spanish where it's like I could piece words together, and I was like,
It
oh,
was
he's good. He's
great,
dope.
dude. I can't like Ludwig has to the Americano the Grande has to win instead of original or whatever.
Yeah.
Like he's just great.
Oh my gosh.
I think Penta drops the championship to Javon here. I have that's my prediction here. I think they're like shooting Javon to the moon.
Yeah.
Like I'm not mad about it.
Yeah, I feel like they're gonna wait on Javon a little bit. That's kind of like
really.
I think they're gonna wait on just a little bit more. You know, they want him to kind of marinate a little bit, and then like I feel like they want it to be on like a major, not just a major show, just like a major one-on-one showcase.
Okay.
Yeah, so I feel like because usually in the history of multi-man ladder matches in WrestleMania, the champion always loses, or like the person who concocts it, like Jericho, loses.
Yeah.
But I feel like Penta's different, especially because they've been hyping him up so much as like this force,
dude, yeah.
And it's just like I think you and I talk about it occasionally, where it's just like I'm like the dude is like a star,
yeah.
You know, where it's just like he's the type of guy where it's like he's the first world title feud after Mania, like for that short program. Where it's like, you know, the Roman and AJ after.
Yeah, that's funny. I was just gonna say the same thing. Yeah,
where it's just like you're just like, oh man, you wish like the world for this guy.
Yeah,
and no, he like everyone's gonna go like insane except for Ray. Ray is Ray knows what he can do. So you're gonna get the standard Ray stuff. I like how they had Rusev stand tall on Raw. I'm like, oh, that's a neat surprise because he doesn't really get many opportunities to do that, and his TNT title run was like amazing in AEW, and then just kind of like we know how the run ended there, and the fact that he was supposed to be like the world title challenger at one point for Jay at SummerSlam last year is just mind blowing.
What the fuck? I didn't know that. That just ruins my night. But anyway, I mean, I think this match is going to be good, but I think it's really hard to like discuss like it's just a multi-man match.
It's gonna be a car crash.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, just not the Vince Russo kind. So you're going with Penta.
I'm going with Penta.
Okay, I got Javon. Now, I don't know if you caught my video. Like, why do I feel like the Balor thing could have been done so much better?
I mean, it could have, yeah.
Like this was like really bad. It just like when people wonder why fans poke at Triple H, Balor's the reason. Like every time somebody tells me like, why do you hate Triple H? I don't hate him. I don't hate anybody in wrestling. Right. But like I feel like my annoyance with him is like he was Finn's biggest supporter.
Yeah.
And I feel like Finn is like the way he books Finn is almost like I said, when he books Rhea, he books her as like an apology letter, a letter to China.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like he books Finn out of trauma. Like you're the reason that NXT was taken from me.
Right.
You know, right? Because like Vince, like the whole like SummerSlam debacle and everything like that. And that was a mistake. You know what I mean? Like Seth was doing too much, you know? And but he fixed it. Bret Hart called him out, and now he's done everything in his power to convince the world and to ready so he doesn't look like an unsafe worker. But he did injure a lot of guys.
Yeah. If you really wanted to do the demon reveal, like I know because they did they did the vignette with Balor's eyes darkening, which I'm like, oh, cool. Which I like. I like the like not the subtlety of it, but like the hint of like, oh, we're getting the demon. Without actually saying we're getting the demon, and then go on the social media, and then you have Finn in full demon regalia and Dominic Mysterio on poster. Like, I think a fun way to do it. If you ever watch or if you ever read those like Animorph books or whatever, where it's like you see like it's like on the cover you see a person like slowly changing into like an animal or something like that.
Okay.
You have like different posters of like Finn slowly turning into the demon every time they're showing it. If you really wanted to get people to go to WrestleMania, because the demon does carry a lot of weight, even though his last 2 matches as the demon were massively disappointing in my opinion.
Well, he has a lot of supporters that are still mad at the outcome of the Hell in the Cell.
It's a Hell in a Cell, and then how he lost to Roman. Like, I didn't have a problem with him losing to Roman, so just how they did it.
Yeah,
with the turnbuckle exploding, as Paul
Heyman
Heyman
said.
It
annoys me to know that John Cena was supposed to beat Roman, but the demon couldn't. Like, it just drives me nuts. It's just like I don't know. Like, I'm not a big Cena hater or nothing, but like, it's just like, come on, man. The demon was supposed to be like the big thing.
Yeah, and I feel like, and I think we talked about this, where one of the big what ifs is like Finn Balor's Universal title run.
Yeah,
and just like what could have happened? You know, it's like with NXT as I feel like Finn's run as Universal Champion would have just been like, yeah, you're champion, but you're not really champion. You know what I mean? Like much like Punk's like first run as a babyface world champion, where it's like, yeah, you're the champion, but we have Cena versus Batista and Jericho versus Michaels. You're third from the top. So that was probably going to be my fear for Finn as world champion. But I feel like with this is the moment to get him back on track. And my one fear is the lack of crowd reaction for Finn and Dom at this point, because Dom has been kind of like in reaction base. He still gets a reaction, but it's like it's plateaued. Not in AAA, different beast entirely.
You know,
with Finn, it's like I'm really concerned about just like where he goes after this.
You know why? I think Triple H talked about this, and I see this like Roman quote going around about like how wrestling fans are like the fast food. They want like the fast food storytelling, right? Like the microwave storytelling. I think there needs to be someone that works in creative, someone that works near Triple H, where like they tell him like, we have to strike while the iron is hot with this one thing. You have Dom get that babyface reaction last year at Mania. And then you don't do anything with it. Like, I think that's why people are tailed off, where they're just like, okay. And to be quite honest, like the best ability is like his availability, and he's been injured a lot. He's missed a lot of time. So I think fans are just like, do we really invest in a guy that's going to get injured this much? You know, like him and his dad are like, they're like fucking porcelain dolls. Like, I don't understand it.
If you ever heard of Ibu from social media. So he did one of my buddies, Ryan, from the North South Wrestling Connection. He did a podcast with him, or just like a preview for one of the matches. I believe it was Punk and Balor from Chamber. And Ibu said the original idea for it was either this WrestleMania or the one before. I think it was this WrestleMania. Before Liv's injury, the penciled idea was Liv and Dom as baby faces versus Finn and Roxanne. And then Liv's injury just kind of like derailed that. And then
Liv's injury was a blessing in disguise, because she's wrestling for the world title now.
Yeah, you know. And then like Finn was gonna stay the heel, and with Finn, the rumor was like Finn wanted to stay heel as long as possible.
Yep.
Because again, if you turn babyface in the pecking order, he'd be lucky if he was in the top 10.
Yeah. I think I think that what you just described is why Edge left. I think that because he was a top babyface and everybody loved him because they turned him babyface, but then like he wasn't one of the top. It was like, what am I like? I just came back. Like, I don't want to just be like dropping off the card and stuff. Like, it just kind of felt weird. But yeah, I agree. I think obviously the demon wins this. They're not going to do him losing.
No, yeah, Demon. You gotta get babyface Finn on the right track, and I feel like, and I've seen people saying, "Oh, this needed to be for the IC title." I'm like, no, not really. The personal issue I think is strong enough.
Yeah. Their story it's been like a long time coming. Like, you know, it's kind of always been this way.
Yeah, there was supposed to be SummerSlam last year. But then like AJ, not AJ, Dom got hurt. And then they had to push off his match with AJ. and then it came at SummerSlam last year, and I was there for
Yeah.
that, so that was pretty cool.
Yeah. Yeah.
Love the Eddie tribute gear too. That was awesome.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. So let's talk about like I think everybody's flavor of Sunday. I think I saved these three matches for last because I think these are the three matches everybody wants to see. One, I think we're officially going to get the double turn as we have the United States champion Sami Zayn wrestling Trick Williams. Now we talk about Trick Williams a lot, but I think we did that off camera.
Yep.
But I think this is like a perfect way to continue the United States Championship legacy, like the way it's being built. I feel like this title has just come back into the fold as like the old WCW United States Championship where this title matters. And it's because of the players that are working for it. It's because of the people that are defending it. It's we're going back. I mean, we've had Logan Paul brought it back to like popularity where people were like, we don't like that he's the champ. LA Knight was like, he had a pretty good run, two of them. You had Jacob Fatu, you had Solo, you have Sammy, you have Ilya, you have Mello, and Sammy gets the title back, but I think Sammy winning the title back was complete transitional. They didn't want to do Mello Trick just yet.
I agree. You want to hold off on that match because yes, they do have the history, but you want to tell their history to the main roster audience.
Yeah.
And even though it would be cool to see Mello and Trick at Mania, I'd rather them be in their own centralized story without Sami Zayn being the person on the side.
Agreed.
And with Trick Williams, again, you don't want to talk about being booked perfectly on the main roster. He has it. Him, Oba, Javon, all of them booked perfect. Lash, all of them booked perfectly. And Trick, like, you know, he's going to be the one who's going to win the world title first, I feel like.
Yeah.
I feel 100%. Like he has that staying power. He has that charisma that it's like you can't put into words. Like it's very like, you know, Rock, Jeff Hardy, Tommy Oliver from Power Rangers. It's like very big. It's like larger than life where you're like, this guy is the person that is going to carry the company.
Agreed.
And this might shock some people, but I don't have Trick winning here.
Really? You think Sammy's going to win here?
Yeah. And the reason why, because, you know, the double turn, in order to make that double turn stick, you need to have Sammy win here to maximize that heat. And you need to have him win in such a way where he takes advantage, like he did with Mello twice. And I feel like this has to be even more underhanded, even if it's like little Yachty throwing a chain to Trick, and then, you know, a kerfuffle happens, the referee's blinded, Sammy just picks it up and then knocks Trick out with it.
Okay.
You know, like something like that. And then you get that, and then Trick can win it on like the SmackDown after or something like that.
Yeah, I mean, I love that. I think that's great. I think it sets Sami Zayn up to have a winning record at WrestleMania because he beats Daniel Bryan for the Intercontinental Championship, or at Mania.
He lost to Kevin Owens at the next year.
He lost to Owens, and then he
lost to Knoxville.
He did, yeah, but he's very proud of that match.
No, and, it was a fun match.
Yeah. And then he beats Gunther, right?
Wins the tag titles. I know you. I know you love that match being in the main event.
I do not. I do not like that match. I do not. I have been. Yep.
That's Charlotte and Rhea was my match of the year that year. So I
it's amazing to me. It's funny because I remember saying that when that happened, like the next day, that's where like Macho was the hater. That's where it all started. Before then, it was just like talking, defending Bret Hart. I felt like my page was going to be like a pro Bret Hart page, but yeah, I remember saying that years down the road, we're going to be talking about that Charlotte Rhea match, and nobody's going to remember like a spot from the from that tag match. And now I was wrong about that part because it has been deemed the super kick party.
Yeah.
So, I mean, so people did remember spots from it.
Yeah.
But if you fall into like the rumor mill where people
Mhm.
say that that was done on purpose for Meltzer,
Mhm.
so I don't know how true that is or not, but
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, I'm pretty shocked. That's a pretty shocking one right there. I did not
Mhm.
expect that you have Sammy. Okay, so that's our second, or our third that we have
Mhm.
a third
Yeah.
disagreement because I have Javon, you have Penta,
Mhm.
I have Trick, you have Sammy. All
Yeah.
right. Now let's move on to quite possibly the star-making match of the weekend,
Mhm.
which is probably going to lead us into the future of professional wrestling here. The real like big time next big thing.
Mhm.
We have Oba Femi versus Brock Lesnar. We talked about this to start the podcast today, so we don't really have to jump into what we feel here. But why don't we jump right into predictions? What do you
Mhm.
think? How do you see this going?
It's one of those like when I first saw it, I was like, it's one of those coin flips again that I love as a fan, where it's like I don't know where it's going,
Yeah,
but it's like seeing the build, I get worried, and a
yeah,
lot of fans don't know what the term hyperbolic means when I say I'm nervous for this match. But it's like I'm nervous because usually in a match like this where somebody consistently gets the upper hand, that's usually not a good sign going into the pay per view.
yeah,
At every turn, Oba has been just dominating Brock, which
yeah,
has been awesome for him. And I remember people being like, "Oh, he's on main event. You see, he's buried already." I'm like, "Just be patient. He's gonna be fine." And you just see like Oba mania just running wild. The fact that he's caught on as well as he did kind of changed my mind. Where I'm just like, okay, he's gonna go over.
yeah.
I feel like it's strong enough. Triple
They
H
should make
was
that
what
fucking
was
t-shirt.
there.
Obamania. That's a
Yeah.
great. That's a great. You should copyright that.
I probably
Obamania.
think of the
It's
dimes
only
I'd get on that.
$5,000. This chump change.
You
Yeah.
know, yeah, I mean, you gotta get the front row ticket somehow.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's like this is this is a slam dunk.
Mhm.
Oba is a slam dunk.
Yeah.
Brock, I know people were saying it's like, oh, he's retiring in SummerSlam. No, because I think Cena let it slip that he wants to retire in Minneapolis. But at the same time, I'm just like, man, it's like Brock can afford the loss. Oba winning now and then being potentially the next challenger, like for the world title, I think is very intriguing. I also think it becomes a point where if Oba wins, where does he go from there?
Yeah.
You have the world title or burst pretty much. Like I feel like Oba and Gunther would also be logically sound, depending on if they want to do a draft or some trades. Uh, it's just like tough to see where how you would carry this momentum, because we've seen this before with WWE. When you have major victories, you have to like quick with it, like with the whole Gunther thing, retiring Cena, retiring AJ, and then he's kind of like laid off for a little bit. Now, of course, that was because of the alleged match with Rey Mysterio being put on hold to see how everything was going to happen. But again, he still kind of lost that momentum a little bit. Again, not his
Yeah.
fault, but it's like you got to kind of continue that. And I'm just questioning, if Oba were to win, which I would prefer, what does he have to do? Like then, is it like a vision thing? Is it like again? I'm trying to think of heels that he can work with after this, and like you have Dom, you have it's going to be almost a step down in consideration for that. I feel.
Yeah. I mean, so there's multiple reasons why I believe Femi wins here.
Mhm.
I think I talked to you about it before we went live here. In 2002, The Rock faced a young Brock Lesnar at
Mhm.
SummerSlam,
Yeah.
and during that feud, Brock Lesnar has said it. I believe he said it in Death Clutch as well.
Mhm.
And he's talked about it in interviews that he was not the intended guy to go over. The company wanted Rocky to go over, being the
Mhm.
Hollywood star, being the world champion, and they didn't have a plan yet, and it was Rock that wanted to put over Lesnar. He's like, let's
Mhm.
put it on the young guy. Let's just do
Mhm.
it. And with Brock's career coming to like a wind down, I don't think he's done that for anybody yet. I don't
Mhm.
think there's been a moment in which he has stood up and been like, we have to go with this guy. He could have done it for Roman
Mhm.
twice. He didn't.
Yeah,
He just saw the money. And I
like
think,
you, yeah, you could argue like you could kind of argue Drew in a way.
yeah, but I think that was just like, I just want to put this guy. That was a 6-minute world title match at
Yeah,
WrestleMania. Then he had a
yeah,
second match with the Big Show. I
yeah.
mean, it was interesting, but yeah, I mean, I think that's a major reason. Plus, I think this is ESPN. It's on ESPN, and Obafemi's a legit
Mm.
like athlete. Like
Yeah,
he's a shot put
yeah.
champion. Like he's a real
Mhm.
athlete too. I mean, wrestlers are real athletes, but he kind of
He
like
fits
it's
the
an
mold.
ESPN
Yeah,
thing. Yeah.
yeah,
And conspiracy theory. I mean, isn't that what Brock Lesnar's daughter does?
yeah.
So like, why wouldn't you want to put over somebody
Yeah.
that like I feel like what
Do,
if like this is
let
a
me let
big
me ask
thing?
you a question. Like you, with this being like ESPN's first involvement in a WrestleMania, do you think they would request a Brock Lesnar win for their legitimacy? I guess.
No, because I think they probably think like I think they would rather have like ESPN's all about like the next big thing. I mean, look at the
Hmm.
way they push like Shea Gildress Alexander.
Hmm.
Like he's like the top star in the NBA. Like he's the face of the league right now. Like
Hmm.
I know people want it to be Wemby, but clearly ESPN wants Shea to be it.
Hmm.
So I mean, it's kind of one of those things, and um, I think they're both phenomenal players, by the way. But
Hmm.
yeah, I just kind of think of it as like they probably like the young upstart. Like they could have years, they could have a
Hmm.
decade of Obafemi being like the top guy, where it's like
Yeah.
he's one of us. He's like
Yeah.
because I do feel like ESPN poked fun at WWE a lot.
Hmm.
Like,
Yeah.
especially like when NBA fights would happen, they'd be like, this isn't WWE, this isn't fake, this is real. Like they would
Yeah.
say things like that live
Yeah.
on air.
Which is funny considering the whole gambling scandal that was with the sports leagues that happened.
Yeah, it's weird. Yeah, so I just have Obafemi winning this match. I don't
Yeah.
see it any other way. I think this is like easy money. Like this is
Yeah.
a layup. You
Yeah.
can't mess this up.
Yeah, I have Oba winning too after that promo
Yeah.
on Raw. Like after that, I'm just like, okay, like he's got a strong case.
I will say this because we saw WrestleMania 40 and how it played out. What I would say is if the idea was Oba doesn't need this win, Brock
Hmm.
can go into like Minneapolis and maybe Oba's the guy who retires him, right?
Hmm.
Maybe it's not Gunther.
Hmm.
Maybe he gets his win back there because Brock's done this type of stuff with like Goldberg,
Hmm.
right? Where it's like, oh, he'll
Yeah.
he'll beat me and then he'll eliminate me at the Rumble and then
Hmm.
here's our moment here.
Yeah.
So it could have been something like that. I will say that promo, if anything, that definitely changed the minds. Where it was probably like, you know
Yeah.
what, we have to alter plans.
And,
It's got to be him.
yeah, no, Oba just gets it. Like if you heard like his
Yeah,
interviews, he just gets like what's happening, like behind the scenes, like
yeah,
everything. I remember like somebody interviewed him, and I wasn't sure if they were upset or not, but it's like they asked him about Ricky Saints beating him in NXT. He's like, look, I just show up, do my job, and then just kind of make it the best I can. And I feel like that's what WWE kind of tailors towards,
yeah,
where it's just like he's doing everything right, like
yeah,
everything, which is like it's going to be amazing for his career. And I think this is like the first like major like mark where it's like, yeah, Brock eliminated him from the Rumble, but he got him at Mania.
yeah. I agree. I agree. Speaking of doing everything right, let's talk about the main event of WrestleMania weekend. Quite possibly the best WrestleMania build in since Rock Cena. I
Mhm.
mean, I don't know if there's a WrestleMania build that matches this. This was when you talked about like in Saturday's main event when you talked about like the 20-year, like I think it's
Mhm.
17 years of the two, like the history and stuff. Like this match brought all of their history together,
Mhm.
and this is one of those things where it's like, for me personally, now that we're not on TikTok and I don't have to play a side, even though like I kind of put myself in a corner and had to do that since my first video about this match was you have to pick a side. I probably shouldn't have done that. This is like this is probably my favorite match going into the weekend. It's two guys that I love very much,
Mhm.
big fan of both of them. Punk being that like I got to watch him from the beginning blonde hair, basketball shorts, wrestling like, Rick Bleed in Jersey All Pro Wrestling and stuff like that. Like at Charity Hall, I thought it was great. Roman as a near and dear place to my heart, losing my dad to cancer and stuff like that, and Roman being able to be a survivor of that. So like these two guys mean the world to me in terms of being a wrestling fan. Roman, as my wife says, he's like my new Sting. Like the way I talked about Sting, that's how I view him and stuff. So I love this match. I love this. I think they did the perfect build for this. I don't think I would take anything away from it. I love that the way they had it. I love the fact that's funny. I'm wearing my Big Dog shirt.
Yeah, oh no, that's awesome.
I just kind of feel like everything they did was really special. I thought that everything they presented to us, like every story, somebody had posted in my comments like a week ago where like it almost feels like Roman doesn't need to look strong because the crowd already views him that way. This entire thing was to convince the audience that Punk belongs in this match, that he can stand toe to toe. So I think they did a brilliant job. I love last night's promo. I don't give a fuck what people think.
I thought it was better than the first one that they did.
Yeah, I agree. I thought this was a perfect way. I don't know who came up with it. I loved it. And my official prediction is I think CM Punk retains.
Yeah, what I really enjoy about this feud, and I remember when Roman won, I think we had like a discussion about like who's gonna pick. Like it's just like I remember I was throwing out like maybe he does like we do Drew and like Roman at Elimination Chamber, tie up that story. And then like when you had that promo, it's like that was like the promo that sold WrestleMania 42.
Yeah.
That was like, you had the history, like the podcast, like that made Roman's life a lot more difficult than it needed to be. Again, that was like a factor. Some people think it's a main factor, other people think it's a side factor, but it doesn't matter. It's like it's still like an impact, and Punk has been a constant in Roman's career, whether you realize it or not. And it then becomes a challenge because wow, that was a strong promo. We have 4 weeks without Roman. Punk's facing Balor. Like, how do they top it? And the thing about that is you can't, and you have to figure out how to play a different angle with it. And then they did the Sika line, and then you had the Usos involvement, which I think Jay and Jimmy do tremendous when they're given serious material to work with. And and then Punk getting in Roman's head about like you need help, and then even Roman yesterday in the video like, oh, I didn't need help, but Punk needed help throughout his career, where it's just kind of like culminating into yes, you had the pipe bomb, but then yesterday it culminated into this 8-mile kind of like final battle where it's like they say their flaws before the other can, so they can just be honest and open. Like they still like hate is the central theme, but before it was bravado hate, where it's like I'm the best. Here it's like I hate you specifically because you have this and I don't.
Yes,
and it's the admission of you it's like I hate you, but it's like I have to give you props because you have this and I don't. But that's what made me who I am today, and that was a perfect way to kind of circle it back into. Like, yes, hate's the theme, but we're still like in a different place with it.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of people say on Twitter, which I don't even know where the hell this came from, that they think the end of WrestleMania is the two of them shaking hands at the end of Mania. And I'm like, I don't think they do that. I just don't. Not that I'm sure they respect each other. We got the whole Zebros thing going, and I know they're probably like
spinoffs coming.
My wife said that she's a Disney mom, so she was like, I think we're getting like the Zebros thing. I think they're going to give them their own little thing, and I was like, oh really? So I was like, that's interesting.
I feel like they'd give them like that, like before animated movies, they'll have like a 10-minute or 15-minute.
Yeah,
I feel like they'd do that.
Yeah, like the little Groot special and stuff like that. Yeah. I mean, whichever way it goes, I love that you brought that up though, because it's like, yes, they both have what the other wanted. Like Roman has the entire career that CM Punk has wanted. Always. He's always wanted to be, and the main event at WrestleMania is very personal to Punk. Like it's mattered to him more than any other wrestler I've ever heard talk about it, because he, on his DVD, he's mad at the Miz for getting the main event. Like this is something that's really bugged him. He feels like he should be the main guy, and the company's never done that. They've never picked him. And then on top of that, like, while he was having a banging ass 434-day reign, wrestling Daniel Bryan at like back-to-back pay-per-views, having this awesome like new like story with like AJ Lee, and then Kane gets involved, and then they have like the feud with John Laurinaitis, and they have like which I actually enjoyed the John Laurinaitis stuff, but like, you know what I mean, like he had this awesome stuff. He was still never viewed as the guy. Right? And it's very much like Shawn Michaels. Like, he's never viewed as the guy, right? And Roman was like, you're the guy, but then fans are like, no, man, we hate you. Like, we don't want another guy. That was such a bad move to just have the company just let it leak like that Roman was their next guy, you know?
Yeah. It was because it was pretty obvious when the Shield broke up where the positioning of Roman would be. I think like the next pay-per-view or two, like he got like championship matches, like they were multi-mans, but like he was like in the fray a little bit. And they just kind of did the Diesel thing where it's like you took everything that made him cool and now you kind of made him into what the corporation thinks is cool for him.
It's crazy. Yeah, I mean, I agree with you. You know, it's funny. I went back. I've done this research, and because I wanted to make sure the podcast is where everything changes. If you go back to the Batista Royal Rumble, like Bootista or Blue-tista, whichever one you want to make fun of him for, if you go back to that Rumble, Roman is that's the guy the entire crowd is losing their minds for.
Yeah.
It's like he sets the record during that, and they're losing their fucking minds. They want this guy to be it.
Yeah, that's like they want him to be it. And also there's a little bit of he's not Batista, you know, and like we're in the era where it's like, all right, we have Cena, Orton, they're pretty much dominating the main event scene. Brock, we want new blood, and Roman's it. And then Roman got he was taken out, I think, with a hernia. He was supposed to face Seth at Night of Champions. He got taken out with a hernia, and he had those like kind of weird like vignette promos where he's like backstage and like you know like giving updates, like almost like remember when Randy like tore his rotator cuff and he was giving like news updates. It was almost kind of like that. But then he was out with the hernia. The podcast drops. He returns that year's TLC, and that's when the boos began.
Yeah. It was definitely interesting. It was a strange turn of events, because I don't know, I guess it didn't really feel like it was anything other than the podcast. Like, yeah, they definitely booed him. They weren't happy with him, and I think like a lot of, like you said, the vignettes kind of like started convincing people. They started seeing it, and they're like, oh no, we're doing this again. We're doing the force feed.
Yeah.
Like, you're giving me broccoli and I want chocolate pudding. Like, that's not, we're not doing this right now. And it's like, oh man. But I do feel like the story, like, man, I would love it if it was a I would love if this turned into a trilogy. Like, I don't want this to be over. Like, I want them, if whoever wins, I want them to work again at Backlash.
Yeah.
Like, it just don't take it away from us. Like, end it at SummerSlam. Just give us a trilogy. Let us have this, because man, I don't know. I just don't want it to end. But yeah, who you're picking?
Yeah, so I actually did a prediction on this match with my friend Ryan and the No So podcast. And I picked Roman to win.
Okay.
Yeah, just kind of like I know plans change, but kind of the clues where it's like the main event this year was supposed to be Roman and Seth. That's what they set up last year, and that's what was going to be this year, with Roman most likely getting his got you back on Seth. And I talked to you off, yeah, and I talked kind of off camera with you that I feel like if Punk wins, it has to be in a heelish fashion. With Roman, he could win as a babyface. He wins clean. because the story then goes with Roman. And then the question is, what do you do after that? Like with Roman until then, like he's not going to be on the show consistently, and having like a part-time champion isn't the ideal situation. But Roman is the guy who could elevate this world championship into something that Netflix and ESPN would be happy with. And then I'm kind of like thinking, I'm like, well, what else can you do? And
that's kind of why I feel like Javon's winning.
yeah,
Because if Roman does win, they need like a big time star, right?
Yeah.
And I know they love Penta, but I feel like the flavor of like what Javon brings.
I feel like, and I think you stitched this video that I did when I said like the Usos would like cost Roman at Mania.
I was like, please don't do that.
I feel like if you go night after Mania, if you want to shock people, you have like, you know, Bloodline like congratulating, giving up the ones, and then Jay just super kicks Roman.
Yeah, and then the Rock's music hits.
No Rock this time. Just Jay on his own, because because Jay's kind of the loose cannon at this point. Like, and it kind of like feeds in if they do shake hands at the end, and then like Roman, like, you know, celebrates with his cousins, then Jay turns, and his reasoning is like, you're shaking this guy's hand at the end of Mania after what he said to your dad, our uncle. It's like what sense does that make? You know what I mean? So
I like that.
So I feel like even though people get iffy on Jay in the main event, the fact is he is a good name, like he is a big name to WWE, as well as I feel like Roman in this, like he's in his contract year, but I feel like he's gonna stick around a little bit more. He wants to work with the people that he wants to make permanent, and Jay's one of those names, Jimmy's one of those names, Jacob's one of those names, and I feel like that's probably the direction that it's going to go. Is like, even though I'm like not like the like you need the bloodline for everything, right? But it's still a story that you can still have multiple chapters, and it fits in with how Roman was talking to Jay about trying to be a world champion from last year. And it's like, I actually did like their little reunion, even though, you know, it's like, did Roman give an apology? Does Jay want an apology? Is this all like bubbling to the surface? I feel like there's an interesting story that you could tell with Roman getting like consequences, or like what people want consequences for his actions, because he hasn't changed, you know, much like Drew hasn't changed, Trick hasn't changed, but the crowd reaction is dictating where the story is going. Yeah. And I feel like with Roman as champion, there's a lot of options still available with him as champion, and with Punk, even though I love the old man Punk like story where it's like he's just getting beaten down in every single match that he's in, but he's finding a way to just kind of scrape by.
Yeah.
If he were to win and like potentially turn heel, I feel like that would be a great way to go, because he doesn't want this to end, and he recognizes that this is probably his last time as world champion. And I feel like that desperation needs to be prevalent in this matchup if they're going to commit to Punk and Cody for next year. But again, that's next year. We're talking about Roman Punk this year. And I feel like with Roman winning, I feel like even though in a lot of people's minds it's the safe choice, I feel like it would be the correct choice for both these guys' story arcs moving forward.
Yeah, I mean, I would like it a hell of a lot more come January if Punk wins the Rumble and goes to Mania to face Cody next year.
Yeah, and the big thing is, it's like, and this is going way down the line, I feel like Cody retaining, I feel like Gunther is probably the one to take it off him. And then Cody comes back, you know, the whole Rocky IV story, takes off Gunther possibly at the Rumble, and then you get Cody Punk there, and then just kind of continue that story, because that's probably the best built story, or one of my favorites that WWE has been doing, is like the Cody and Punk relationship. And with Roman, like, are we gonna get Rock and Roman, or are we gonna get like different stories with Roman, like the Seth story? So it all just kind of depends on what stories you want to tee up. But I really hope that, especially what we saw with this year's Mania, that Triple H doesn't like plan like it's good to plan a year out, but it's like, as we saw with Seth, things can change, and then it gets a lot of disorganization, which is what we have right here for some of the top stuff. So I hope it's just like, yeah, we could pull this off at SummerSlam, or we could pull this off at like a hot crowd depending on where they are.
Agreed. Well, yeah, man, I think we did a pretty good raw recap show combined with a special edition WrestleMania 42. We might have to get together again for the post WrestleMania so we can talk about what we thought and see how our predictions fared.
Yeah, absolutely, man.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is great. It seems like we can't do under 2 hours. It seems like this is like our thing. But we did have two nights to talk about, and we did talk about Monday Night Raw. So
Yeah.
we have SmackDown this week, and hopefully that keeps it going. I'm hoping that Cody comes out hot. Word on the street is he's going to Lucas Oil Stadium to go get his championship back today. So I did see there was like a little story out there, a little photo of Lucas Oil. So I guess we'll see. But yeah, Richie, thank you so much. Is there anything you want to put yourself over on it before we go?
No, just at Retold Richie Mars on everything, YouTube, TikTok, and Instagram. We just passed 1,000 on YouTube, and we're just going to keep climbing.
Yeah, man, sounds great. It's awesome. I mean, I can't wait to hopefully we can keep this going and just keep out and get everybody excited about professional wrestling. Guys, if you want to have a different perspective on professional wrestling, go follow Richie. He's got a beautiful thought process. It's not necessarily a devil's advocate, but it is kind of like a view it from all perspectives, right? It's not him trying to convince you of one side or the other or trying, but it's just something like keep an open mind and view the business this way. It's a really great way to view the business as it's something I really enjoy. I try to push. I try to tell as many people as I can. I'm like, you got to go follow this dude. He's awesome. He's got great takes, great stuff. And I see you're doing really well with your AEW stuff, which is great. At least somebody is, because that stuff is tough to catch on.
Yeah, it's unfortunately with AEW, that mostly the negative talking points will kind of be the prevalent thing that's going to lead the conversation. But there's a lot of good that's happening in AEW, even though and nobody like is forcing people to like AEW, but it's like you're also not being forced to just drag something down because somebody else likes it. It's like, again, it's just different tastes. It's like you could go McDonald's, you could go Burger King. No one's telling you have to go to both.
Exactly. Yeah, I mean, that's perfect. Max said it best on CVV. Like, if you have this allegiance to one business because you grew up watching it, and that's the only reason you're not watching AEW, you're missing out, because the product over there is great right now. Their world champion is phenomenal. Their women's champion is just like a star who wasn't ever viewed, I guess, as like a main event type of star, and she is turning into a like really great player for this company as well. And plus, like as Willow Nightingale said herself, you have like a female version of the New Day, someone who preaches positivity and stuff like that, and she's really great at what she does. Harley Cameron, there's so many other things over there. You have Swerve Strickland, Samoa Joe, Darby Allin. You have great talent over there. So hopefully people just keep an open mind and just go do that. So maybe we might just have to do an AEW show together.
Yeah, it's a big one coming up. So
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I'm actually going to be
guys. Well, thank you so much.
So that's going to be cool.
Oh, well, that's even better. Holy hell, that's going to be great. So, I mean, yeah, well, I look forward to hearing all your takes and all your, your recaps of what you saw at the show and stuff like that. So, guys, guys, thank you so much for tuning in, and have a great Mania weekend. Enjoy it. And, you guys know where to find me. It's at the bottom. You see Richie's under his name there, and go follow everybody, man. Enjoy wrestling.